Welcome everyone to Dtravel. The future of direct bookings is Web3. My name is Dana Lubner. I'm going to be facilitating today's session in the background, and I'll be in the chat. We also have James from Dtravel in the chat as well. So we do encourage you to drop your questions in there, as he'll do his best to answer those during the session. And if we're lucky, we'll have a little time for Q&A at the end. I'm excited to welcome Eric Pace and Cynthia Wong from Dtravel. So at this point, Eric and Cynthia, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dana. Super excited to be here. Really happy to be talking about how the future of Web3, of direct bookings is Web3. So just a quick intro about myself and about Eric. I'm the head of demand growth at Dtravel. I've been a host since 2014 and also have a host community globally called Air Host Forum. I entered the Web3 space in 2018 when I had my own crypto gaming startup. And then now Dtravel is really bringing together two passions of mine, hosting and the Web3 space. And then Eric, I'll turn it over to you for a quick intro.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here with the Rent Responsibly community and seeing Rent Responsibly grow over the past year and a half has been wonderful. And so I joined Dtravel last October. Before that, I was with NoiseAware, and before that, I was with Verbo. And so I've been with short-term rentals, for a few years. And before that, I was with the Department of Defense. But this is really my passion, and I'm excited to be on this journey.
Awesome. And then just quickly about Dtravel, we are a travel and Web3 company, and we power direct stays through Web3. And we'll be talking more about what exactly that means and how that affects you as a host. So what exactly is Web3? I think James is going to drop a question into the chat, but this might be a term that you've heard of and not really sure what it actually means. So I thought I'd walk you through the evolution from Web 1 to Web 2 and then to Web 3. So Web 1 is what we call the information economy. This was really where web pages and websites came about, and it was really for informational and research purposes. So you couldn't really do a lot with it, you couldn't interact with it. It was really just there, it was static, and then it presented information to you. And then we evolved into Web 2, which was really the platform economy. And so this was where a lot of these platforms like Uber, YouTube, Airbnb came about, and they really connected and enabled two sides to come together in a way that hadn't been possible before. And there's obviously a lot of value created out of that, a lot of transactions and new ecosystems and industries that were born that never were possible before. And this was where you could actually, we call it the right, phase of the internet. So you could actually interact with different things, you could create and change and really engage in a different way. And then now we're moving into Web3, which is really what we call the ownership economy. And it was born out of this answer as to trying to solve some of the problems that came out in Web2, because even though platforms really created a lot of value, that value stayed with intermediary or the platform in the middle. And that left a lot of creators out of the equation because they were creating a lot of value, but they weren't really capturing that value. So Web3 is really as an answer to that by changing some of the ownership structures that exist and distributing that value back to the people who should own it, which are the creators and the users and the community members who contribute value. Now, to put this into sort of practical application for the travel industry, how does Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 look like for travel? Web 1 was really about a directory. So if you want to travel somewhere, you might go on to a web page and then be able to find a list of places you want to travel to. It might provide information, but that was sort of the end of how you could interact with that web page. In Web 2, where we moved online and we had a lot of apps, this is where you could actually do things like online booking. You could talk to people, you could book different things. And so that really changed the game of the travel industry, because now you could actually interact with a web page and an experience. And now with Web3, this is where we were talking about that ownership piece. So still very similar to Web 2 in some ways, but really about distributing that value back into the ecosystem for all the people who actually use that product. So I wanted to share what a Web 1 and Web 2 experience looks like. I thought this would be fun. I pulled this from the Wayback Machine. This is VRBO both on the left and the right. On the left-hand side, it's a screenshot from 1999. So as you can see, very, very different experience. It's really of the times, a lot of information, not super readable, not super engaging, but it's really for informational purposes. And then on the right-hand side, which is the website today, this is where you can actually interact. You can search and do different things, talk to people, book your experience. And with a Web3 experience, you might be thinking, what does that look like? So with Dtravel, this is a Web3 travel experience. And on the front side, it actually looks very, very similar to a Web2 experience. So you can do a lot of the same things. The experience feels very similar and comfortable. And what we've done is we've added the Web3 benefits on the back end and abstracted that away from our hosts and guests so that they actually don't feel like they're using a Web3 experience, but they get all the benefits of the Web3 experience. And Eric will touch more on what those are in the next slides.
Thanks, Sin. So Sin kind of explained what Web3 travel means, but I think it's important for us to highlight that we are first a travel company, and we're using Web3 technology as a means to empower individual ownership. So we believe that the platform of the future will serve a collective of empowered owners rather than large corporations. And we are empowering individual ownership as a means to create a broader travel ecosystem. And so to identify how to do that, we've interviewed over hundreds of hosts and conducted extensive research, with property managers from across the globe to understand what ownership means to them. And so what I'd like to share with you today is some overarching trends couched with some research, and then also share with you how we believe you can start the Web3 journey today. So we think that our growing industry is at an inflection point related to recent macro events and emerging technology. I think everyone in the short-term rental industry was either directly impacted or knows somebody who was by COVID. And like 85% of bookings were canceled across the globe. And so that had an enormous impact on not just, from a dollars and cents standpoint on the industry, but also a cultural impact that we'll talk a little bit more about here in a moment. Just shortly after COVID, the cryptocurrency market kind of took off. What's hidden in that is that there was a lot of innovation that's come out over the last couple of years. And this new technology can help change our industry. And so that's part of this inflection point. And so here we come in 2022, and we want to share with you kind of how we're going to take a Web3 approach to travel. So to contextualize this a little bit, I think it's important to understand that there is a number of hosts and property managers that have acutely, felt what's happened over the past few years, and they feel very strongly about it. So we were really inspired by how open property managers were and hosts to share their experience with us, and then how acutely they felt these pain points. There's a real passion around change and around ensuring that there's some autonomy with their business. And what we also saw after COVID, next slide, is this incredible rise of direct bookings that's really taken hold following COVID. And so direct bookings are not a new phenomenon. In fact, they're as old as this industry is. They existed before the internet, and it was the primary way for people to book before, online bookings became a thing. So most people understand how direct bookings work, but this new movement towards direct booking, we think, is part of a broader Web3 movement within our industry. And so we believe that the direct booking movement is a Web3 movement, and that we should look at how to improve it. And so if you're an owner or host and you have a direct booking site, then you know there's some increased responsibilities, but they also come with some significant benefits. So the first and most obvious is that you don't have to pay the fees that you pay on the platform. But you also, less obvious is that you're the merchant of record. And as the merchant of record, you basically have ownership over the policies, the guest experience, and deciding when there's going to be refunds, and basically ownership over your business. And so merchant of record is really an important unlock for short-term rental hosts. So through our research, we identified 3 primary pain points. The first is lack control over your funds, over your policies, over the guest experience. This was acutely felt across cultures, across countries. It's something that we really highlight as something to solve. The second is that there is a lack of voice in shaping the future of the platform that you rely upon. So if you are a part of Airbnb or Vrbo or whatever OTA you're a part of, they make decisions and it's not always clear why those decisions are made. The third one is unfair economics. And so that's in terms of both fees, but also sharing in the success of a platform that maybe you contributed to building. And so to tackle these pain points, we've created a platform that makes it incredibly easy for you to create a direct booking site. And within that platform, it's powered by smart contracts. And so you may ask yourself, well, what is a smart contract? Smart contract is simply an agreement that's automated by a computer program or protocol. And so some of you may use actual rental agreements with your guests today. But if you don't, Airbnb and Vrbo have kind of a guest agreement. And so whether you know it or not, you already are entering into these contracts with your guests each time you have a booking. And so what we've endeavored to solve using technology is a direct peer-to-peer contract that's automated. So when somebody books, that booking is a smart contract and it governs the relationship going forward rather than having middlemen govern it. The second thing that we wanted to tackle was this lack of voice. And so our platform is intended to be owned by the host and property manager community. And so that has a lot of implications in terms of like our future and sense of ownership for anybody that is a member of our platform. The third thing that we implemented was this idea that you could have decreased fees and increased rewards through our TRVL token. So the travel token is our utility governance token, and it is it's the rewards that we give both guests and hosts, if you think like of a traditional reward system, but it's also your ability to influence the outcomes on the platform. And it's the value derived from being a member of our platform and driving bookings. So if you go back to the benefits of a direct booking site, here's what's kind of added to that when you add this Web3 layer to it. There's still intermediaries when you have a direct booking site and payment processors, and they have fees. And if you have international travelers, there's fees that come with exchange rates. And so one of the things that this addresses is that there's even a further reduction in fees. And there's also no possibility of chargebacks. So chargebacks are a multi-million-dollar problem across the industry. If you've been the merchant of record, you've probably experienced it yourself. But basically the credit card industry is loyal to its members. And if somebody claims that this is a fraudulent booking, then there's a chargeback. And oftentimes the merchant of record is the person that feels that pain. When you have a smart contract booking and powered by Web3, there is no chargeback problem anymore. And the final thing that is important to note is this increased amount of ownership. Airbnb grew from a single hosted platform to millions of hosts across the globe, and then they went public. And many of the hosts that helped build that platform did not see the success of the IPO. And so ownership has multiple meanings in this context, but I think hosts and property managers that have been in this industry for years kind of understand what that means. So how can you get started on the Web3 journey today? So maybe you don't want to have anything to do with crypto. Maybe you're not sure about smart contracts. Well, we believe that you can start your journey on Web3 today by first having an independent PMS or channel manager. So embedded within each OTA platform is some key property management functions. And some people just stay reliant on that and then maybe add some spreadsheets to help coordinate between channels. Having an independent property management system and channel manager allows you to basically decrease risk in terms of bookings across multiple channels. And it also gives you a central place to manage your business. So it frees you in a way from being over reliant on any single platform. The second thing you can do today to get started on the Web3 journey is to have a direct booking website. So whether that's through Dtravel or through a different provider, direct bookings are a key to kind of having an autonomy and your own book of business. And so we think that this is a journey that every property manager and host should go on if they haven't already. And then, as I mentioned, as you make your way on that journey, there's going to be sooner or later blockchain and smart contracts are going to kind of take over this direct booking movement. And so we believe, all of Dtravel listings and direct booking sites are going to be on the blockchain. And we think this is the future. We think this is going to be a catalyst for the direct booking movement. And we think that smart contracts will enable peer-to-peer relationships and improve the connection between hosts and guests, which is ultimately what this industry is all about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. So I know what you're all thinking. You're probably thinking, this sounds amazing. How do I get started? Just want to share our roadmap with you so you know where we're at today. As Eric mentioned, an independent PMS is really critical, not only for ownership, but also because we know that PMSs are something that hosts and property managers already use to run their business efficiently. So we wanted to make sure that we were catering to our host needs and met them where they were at. So we started with 2 integrations, HostAway and Uplisting, and we're in the talks to integrate more, and we'll continue to do more of those integrations. We have launched our beta and we're onboarding thousands of hosts already, which we're super excited about, and we'd love to have you in our beta. Next, we're going to be opening Dtravel to the public so that they can onboard easily and seamlessly depending on the PMS that they use. And then we'll also be building out an ecosystem of tools. So we know that hosts have a lot of different needs, and we want to make sure that we are giving them the tools to be able to build their business as they need and as they want. So we'll be integrating more and more apps and have that ecosystem of apps. And then finally, but most importantly, we know that host demand is something that would really, really help out our hosts. I'm a host myself, so I know that this is super important. And we are currently doing a lot of research, and we actually have some pretty exciting products and tools that we'll be launching to help with guest demand specifically for our hosts to help them increase their business and to get more bookings. So we'd love to have you on our journey. And just to give you a quick summary of where we're at and what we talked about today, our industry is moving away from centralized online agencies and platforms and moving towards direct bookings because it gives them complete ownership. And as we've seen from recent macro events, you can't actually rely on these platforms because you need full control over your business so you can continue to run regardless of what happens. Web3 is accelerating this movement, and it's the one thing that provides true ownership over the digital aspects of your business. And we believe that smart contracts will actually be the catalyst to enable direct bookings across the entire industry and really give true ownership so that you're not reliant on a payment processor or somebody else holding on to your funds. And we are here for you. We're building a community-led and community-owned ecosystem that is empowering hosts to be able to leverage Web3 technologies so that you have full control over your business and in a really seamless and easy way so that you don't even need to know how to program or need to know anything about Web3. So definitely join us on our journey. We are bringing hosts into our beta. So if you're interested in joining beta, definitely reach out to Eric at dtravel.com. He's amazing. He's going to onboard you and handhold you through the entire process. And it is pretty easy to onboard as well, as I mentioned. We also have a host waitlist at dtravel.com. So definitely check that out if you have some questions. And then finally, we have a Discord community, which is our community platform so that you can come meet us, talk to us at any time, meet other hosts, get product updates and product feedback, and just give us your feedback about different things that you're seeing and what you'd actually like to see in the Dtravel product. So we'll open up to questions. There were actually some really, really good ones I saw in the chat. The first one, this one was for you, Eric. Can you explain why there are no chargebacks?
Yeah, I actually saw a couple good questions, and maybe I should work first. I think Jenny asked whether we can take fiat payment and crypto. So through our platform, you can take both forms of payment, both fiat and crypto. And so how does that relate to no chargebacks? So the way that a smart contract works is that when the guest makes a booking, the money is transferred to a smart contract. And then depending on the host's cancellation terms, it's locked once the cancellation period ends. The host is then kind of in control of what happens to those funds going forward. Once the guest checks in, the funds are released to the host within hours. And so if there's any issues that happen between, with the stay, then the guest needs to work directly with the host. So we think this is the fastest payout that exists in the industry. Dave,
Awesome.
let me know if that answers your question in chat.
Another question, really good one, is how does the platform make money?
Yeah, that's also a good question. So right now our beta is free for anybody that wants to join until we close the beta. We are going to have a certain fee set for sustaining the platform long term, but we think that there's a broader ecosystem that will help fund the platform going forward. And so we have several traveler initiatives that Sin mentioned that are going to really be kind of our focal point in terms of making money for our platform. But in terms of our hosts, we're going to charge as little as possible on transactions now and in the future.
Yeah, and just to add to that, what we're trying to do is really optimize both the host and the guest experience. So initially for the host, they are getting the platform for free, but for the guests as well, they get a huge cost savings on the fees because on other platforms, they're paying anywhere from 12 to 20%. And actually, I was doing a presentation yesterday and one of the attendees said that in Mexico, she pays 30%, which is crazy. And so even just from using Dtravel, they pay 0% fees if they want to pay in crypto, and they only pay 3% fees if they want to pay with a credit card checkout. So as you can imagine, it's a better experience for both sides because that value is there. The guests will have a better experience because they feel like they're getting more value. They're paying less fees, so they're actually going to potentially stay longer with you or want to come back because they're having such a good experience. So this is really about optimizing the experience for both sides as well so that you as a host can continue to have better guests and a better guest experience overall. And any fees that we do charge, most of it goes back into maintaining the platform and the technology. And then we also have community funds to fund different things for the community that you can actually put forth proposals for if you're interested in developing things that benefit everybody in the ecosystem.
So we had another good question from John Hildebrand, and he asked about Hospitable connection. So John, we've actually talked with Hospitable, and they would like to integrate, but they said they weren't quite ready. And so what we've been asking our waitlist to do is to reach out to their PMSs and tell them that they want to have Dtravel as a channel so that we can help them prioritize their roadmaps.
Eric, John has a question. Do you plan to work with Superhog for extra security?
John, good question. So I think our intent is basically to include all the tools that you use in your existing short-term rental business to enhance it. So we are creating a marketplace, and our reason for integrating with PMSs from the outset is to ensure that all the tools that you currently use in your business are still available to you. And so we will have insurance options like Superhog.
Awesome. And then Eric, here's a question. I'm not sure if maybe Jenny can clarify, but the question is, since we make a decent amount of money off our fees on the OTAs, how do we make the same or more via Web3 direct bookings? I think the question might be, are hosts expecting to make the same amount of bookings via Web3? But Jenny, if you want to maybe clarify if I'm misunderstanding that.
Yeah, so just to amplify a little bit some of the things we said, Jenny, with, if we don't have as many customer service agents and all the things that like Airbnb or other OTAs have in terms of managing the guest experience, then we're not going to need as much money or revenue to run Dtravel, right? And so if things are more decentralized, that means our hosts are managing the guest experience, and there's much less overhead. And so a lot of what you see in the fee structure for something like Airbnb is related to managing all those customer service agents and all the things that they're doing. And so just to clarify, like, our intent is to have much less overhead for the long term.
And just Jenny did post a clarification there. So the booking price, your listing price, you can still dictate. So there's no difference from any other channel. We are allowing you full control over the pricing as you would with anything else. But really, we're saying that the fees that we're charging the hosts and the guests, which you normally see on other platforms, that's greatly reduced or even potentially at zero, depending on the payment option. So that means that you actually get more money back into your pockets to run your business, and you get more guest booking because it's cheaper for them.
All right, guys, this sounds like it's a session that we could keep going way beyond 30 minutes. Super fascinating topic. So thank you so much for joining us, Eric and Cynthia, and James for jumping into the chat. I did drop into the chat a survey monkey. We would greatly appreciate it if you all clicked on that link and filled out the survey. I believe it's really short and sweet. In that survey, you can opt in to connecting further with Dtravel as well. So pop over to the chat and please do fill out that survey. Next session that we do have coming up is the future of guest experience in tech-enabled stays. So you'll want to scroll down to explore sessions and click join when this session ends. Steve Davis has a great session in store for us. So thank you so much to you both for joining us today and all of you that attended today's session. Have a great one.